So on paper, this battery behind me should lose to a bunch of its competitors in its bracket. But when you need it the most, it is going to outlast them by hours. There's a bit of battery chemistry magic happening right there. Before I tell you about said magic, let me abracadabra you $500. I made this super easy. All you gotta leave a comment down below. Tell me the first thing that you would power with your new Anker SOLIX battery, what you would do with it, where you take it, a fact about yourself, and you can do that in a comment once per day for 10 days. Watch the video all the way through, give the video a thumbs up, open to anyone in the world, let it run for 10 days, information will be down below. All right, so let me introduce you. This guy behind me is the Anker SOLIX S2000. So I've been reviewing power stations for a while, and kind of as I was testing this guy and kind of digging into it, something kind of started to bug me about how portable power stations generally get reviewed, and something that I've done in the past as well. And I'm saying we, because again, I've done it. Generally, you look at a spec sheet for these power stations, and if you're buying one, I get why you would do that, right? You're gonna compare the wattage, capacity, probably peak output, and the port count too, how much stuff you can plug into it. That's the spec sheet that everybody runs through, and again, me included. The thing is, none of those numbers actually tell you the one thing you wanna know most in an outage. How long that thing's gonna be able to keep your fridge cold. If you've ever had a power outage, the fridge is a big one. You open it once or twice and suddenly all that food, all that money is spoiled. And Anker, and thank you them for sponsoring this video, sent me something that doesn't, in all fairness, look great on a spec sheet and somehow outperforms a bunch of stuff that does look good on a spec sheet. Once I figured out why, the whole way I think about this category kind of fell apart for me. Anker's headline number with this thing is 35 hours of fridge runtime, making the S2000 the longest running 2 kilowatt-hour power station for basic home backup. I know fridge time is kind of a weird category, but it's one of those things that draws kind of the most power. It's TÜV certified with an A+ rating, the first product to earn one under their runtime program. So for these types of batteries, and there are a lot in this category, there are kind of two numbers that nobody puts on the box that determine kind of real runtime more than just capacity does. Idle consumption and discharge efficiency. And I'll kind of explain both, but the short version is capacity is just how much energy is in like the tank. And these two are pretty much how it actually reaches your fridge. So idle consumption, your inverter, your battery management, all the electronics keeping the unit awake, they pull power constantly, even with nothing plugged in. And I know that part sounds boring, but it's really important. But a unit idling at 25 watts is bleeding 3/4 of a kilowatt hour every day, just sitting in your closet waiting for a power outage to happen. And across a 35-hour outage, that's a real chunk of your capacity gone before your fridge or you're plugging into has even cycled through. And plenty of stuff in this bracket sits in that range, but nobody's ever really tested for it. Discharge efficiency is the one thing that's quietly kind of been bothering me since kind of I learned about and started researching this battery pack. When the unit converts sort of stored battery energy into AC power that your stuff actually uses, some of that energy gets lost as heat during that conversion process. And most reviews, again, including most of mine, test this at kind of high loads. Plug in a kettle, watch the wattage hold steady, it's fine, and you move on. Except your fridge, something that takes a lot of power, isn't a kettle. Your router isn't a microwave. The actual stuff you're trying to keep alive in an outage almost always sits under 200 watts. And under 200 watts, the efficiency for a lot of these units is flat out terrible, like 30-ish% efficient at 10 watts terrible on stuff that I have seen and tested. So over 60% of the energy you stored never reaches the appliance. It just disappears on the way out as heat. And I generally don't think most people, including most reviewers, realize that's happening. Which, it's a bit of a marketing talk here, gets me to what Anker's calling OptiSave. That's Anker's name for the system that fixes both. So 6 watts at idle on the S2000, when most of the category sits between 14 and 26 watts. Then the efficiency curve is a big one here. 88% at 100 watts and 65% at 10 watts, when a lot of other stuff is hitting 30% down at lower watts. Anker says this comes down to, I guess it's just a transformer redesign, smarter standby, adaptive control, and adjust based on what's actually drawing. I asked, I don't have schematics, I do just have the numbers. And the numbers say somebody at Anker engineered this for a real use case instead of pretending that actual use case doesn't exist. And I was also expecting another backbreaker here, big heavy unit. Most 2 kilowatt units in this bracket weigh 48 to 55 pounds, and you feel every one of them when you carry it upstairs. The S2000, small, you can see it. It's only around 35 pounds, roughly the size of a microwave. 8 by 11 by 12. And Anker did it by collapsing everything onto a single main board, which I'm not going to pretend I followed all the way down, but the upshot is less wiring, less wasted space inside, sort of the unit itself. I moved this thing around the studio one-handed without really thinking about it. If you look at the EV space, you look at cars, you see cars with all different kinds of battery packs and kilowatt hours, and you see vastly different amount of ranges that those cars can go. And I know this is not apples to apples, there's weight distribution and that kind of stuff, and speed and wind resistance. But if you look at a car like the Cadillac Escalade IQ that weighs 9,000 pounds and has a 200 plus kilowatt hour battery pack, and you look at something like the Mercedes EQS or the Lucid Gravity that has almost less than half, it has about half the kilowatt size, but can go farther. It's not always just the size of the pack. It's not just the sheer kilowatts. It's how far you can go with that. And I think what Anker's done here is let you go farther with what you have. They're not throwing more at you to make up for a really inefficient charging curve. It's also got a lot of outlets. I think that part tells you someone at Anker actually owned one of these and used it. You don't always see that many. There are 5 AC outlets, but they split them up, so you don't have to have everything plugged in at once. You got 3 on the front, 2 on the back. Stuff in the back is for the fridge that lives plugged in. Stuff that's always gonna be plugged in, your fridge, your router. The front, I think, is for whatever you grab in the moment, so it stops being something you panic, drag out of the closet during an outage. It just sits there becoming something that's kind of in the corner of a kitchen that actually works. It's a small thing, but it did change how I thought about kind of where I put it. The cells inside are 314 amp hour. They're LFP rated for 10,000 cycles to 60% capacity. Anker said that's gonna be about 15 years of usable life with a 5-year warranty. Most people are charging this, I'm guessing 10, 20 times a year, keeping it all the way charged when you need it. You're kind of not running into the ground. It should still be useful though when my 12-year-old goes to college in 6 years. It does have an app, and I almost skip talking about it because I usually don't pay attention to those here. But inside of that app, something called Storm Guard, which is going to sort of auto-charge the unit when sort of severe weather is in the forecast. That was pretty nice. You get things like time of use scheduled charging during off-peak hours, so it doesn't fight your electric bill. So you can keep it plugged in somewhere and it'll always be ready when you need it. Both of those are sort of, I thought somebody actually think about how a person might actually use these. UPS switchover too is kind of cool. It's fast enough that you could probably run a desktop or editing rig out of it without losing any work, which I don't think you can say for most stuff in this range. Default DC gets you full in about 2.3, 2.4 hours. You turn on ultra fast in the app and you're about 80% in like an hour, I don't know, hour and a third. Probably faster than this unit really needs to be for what it's for, but if you were kind of in a car trip and you're running out at the door and you want to take it with you, it's nice to have. Look, the reason a smaller, lighter, cheaper unit beats bigger ones, and the only way that actually matters comes down to what you measure. Capacity still counts, wattage still counts, none of that goes away. But for most of sort of the things you're gonna run, a fridge, a router, some lights, a few chargers, when the grid drops, those aren't the important numbers. The S2000 is the first 2 kilowatt hour system that I've seen built around an actual problem instead of a spec sheet. I've been holding off on buying one of these things because everything in the bracket felt oversized, overpriced, what we actually need. This is the one that I would legitimately point you at. It's a really good thing to have just as an in case, even if you never take it anywhere. Keep it in the garage, keep it in the closet, keep it charged, and if your power ever goes out, you'll probably thank me.